You're lying awake at 3 in the morning, replaying a conversation that happened 6 months ago. Something someone said to you, or something you didn't say back. You already know it doesn't help. You already know nothing will change, but you can't stop. Or maybe it's different for you. Maybe it's the constant feeling that things should be going better than they are, that you're falling behind, that the people around you are getting it right, and you're not. 2,000 years ago, a Roman emperor, the most powerful man on earth, sat down at the end of the day and wrote in his private journal, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." That emperor was Marcus Aurelius, and the philosophy he lived by, Stoicism, might be the most practical guide to suffering ever written. This isn't academic philosophy. This is a toolkit. And today, we're going to open it. First, let's address the thing most people get wrong. When you hear the word Stoic, you probably imagine someone cold, emotionless, shut down. That's not what Stoicism is. Marcus Aurelius cried when his children died. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic writers, produced some of the warmest, most emotionally honest letters in all of ancient literature. And Epictetus, who was born a slave, taught about human dignity with more passion than almost anyone who ever lived. Stoicism isn't about feeling nothing. It's about understanding what is worth feeling and what is making you suffer unnecessarily. That's a very different thing. Stoicism was founded in Athens around 300 BC. It was designed explicitly as a philosophy for real life, not for lecture halls, not for debates, for people dealing with loss, with fear, with uncertainty, and trying to figure out how to live well anyway. And for over 2,000 years, it has worked. The most powerful idea in Stoicism can be stated in a single sentence. There are things you can control and things you cannot. Your entire peace of mind depends on knowing the difference. This comes from Epictetus, a man who was literally enslaved. His body was not his own, his freedom was not his own, his circumstances were not his own, but his mind was. And from that one insight, he built an entire framework for human freedom. What can you control? Your thoughts, your judgments, your responses, your effort, your character. What can't you control? Other people's opinions, other people's actions, the outcome of events, the past, the weather, traffic, whether someone loves you back. Now, think about what causes you the most suffering in your life right now. Is it something in the first list or the second? Almost always, it's the second. We suffer because we pour emotional energy into things we were never going to control. The Stoics didn't say, "Don't care." They said, "Care deeply about what is yours to change and release what isn't." That's not coldness. That's clarity. Here's where Stoicism gets specific and where it might genuinely change how you see everything. The Stoics argued that events don't cause suffering. Your interpretation of events causes suffering. Not what happened to you, but the story you told yourself about what happened. Marcus Aurelius wrote, and I'm paraphrasing, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Think about that. Two people experience the same rejection. One spirals for months. The other is disappointed, processes it, and moves forward. Same event, different interpretation, completely different level of suffering. This doesn't mean you shouldn't feel pain. Pain is real. But the Stoics draw a sharp line between pain, which is natural, and suffering,
which is the story we build around the pain. Pain says, that hurt. Suffering says, that hurt and it means I'm not enough and it will always be this way and I should have known better. Stoicism interrupts the second voice. Stoicism has three towering figures and they couldn't be more different from each other. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor. He ruled the Roman Empire at its peak. He commanded armies. He navigated plagues, wars, and political betrayal. And every night, he sat down and wrote reminders to himself about how to be a better person. Not for publication, not for an audience, for himself. Those private journals became the Meditations, one of the most influential books in human history. Epictetus, the slave, born into slavery, beaten so badly his leg was permanently broken, eventually freed and went on to become one of the most respected teachers in Rome. His core teaching, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And Seneca, the advisor. He served as advisor to Emperor Nero, one of the most erratic and dangerous rulers in Roman history. Seneca wrote about time, about loss, about how most of our anxiety comes from things that haven't even happened yet. He wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." An emperor, a slave, an advisor. All three arrived at the same conclusions. That tells you something about the universality of what they found. So what does Stoicism actually teach you to do? Let's get practical. Principle 1. Focus only on what you can control. We covered this, but it bears repeating. Every time you feel anxious, ask yourself, is this within my power to change? If yes, act. If no, let it go. Not because it doesn't matter, but because holding on to it is costing you peace. Principle 2. Your judgments create your reality. When something happens, pause before reacting. The event is neutral. Your interpretation is what causes the emotional spiral. The Stoics practiced inserting a gap between stimulus and response, and in that gap is your freedom. Principle 3. Amor Fati. Love your fate. This is the most radical idea in Stoicism. Don't just accept what happens, embrace it, use it. Marcus Aurelius didn't just tolerate the plague, the wars, the betrayals. He treated them as material, as fuel for becoming who he needed to be. Principle 4. Memento Mori. Remember, you will die. The Stoics thought about death constantly, not because they were morbid, but because it made everything else clearer. If today were your last day, would you spend it replaying a 6-month-old conversation? Would you spend it anxious about someone else's opinion of you? Remembering death strips away what doesn't matter and reveals what does.
Principle 5. Virtue is the only true good. The Stoics believed that wealth, fame, status, these are preferred indifference. Nice to have, not necessary for a good life. What matters is character, how you treat people, how you handle adversity, whether you act with wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline. Everything else can be taken from you. Your character cannot. Now, if you've watched our other videos on this channel on narcissistic abuse, gaslighting, manipulation, you might be seeing connections. When a manipulator rewrites your reality, Stoicism gives you the framework to trust your own perception again. When someone weaponizes your sensitivity, Stoicism teaches you that your emotional response is yours, and no one else gets to define whether it's valid. When you've spent years trying to control someone else's behavior, Stoicism gently asks, was that ever in your power?
This is why dark psychology and Stoicism are two sides of the same education. One shows you the pattern, the other shows you the exit. And here's the truth that connects them both. The people who hurt you were focused entirely on controlling what was outside them, other people's emotions, other people's reality. The Stoic path is the opposite. Master what is inside you and let the rest go. Here's the thing about Marcus Aurelius. He was the most powerful person on earth. He could have had anything he wanted. And every night he sat down and reminded himself to be patient, to be kind, to accept what he couldn't change, and to focus on being a good person, not a powerful person, a good one. Those journals were never meant to be published. They survived by accident. 2,000 years later, they're still being read by millions of people looking for the same thing he was: clarity, calm, a way to suffer less. If this video helped and you want to go deeper, Marcus Aurelius's Meditations is where to start. It's short, it's readable, and it might be the most practical book you'll ever pick up. We've also covered the dark triad, narcissistic abuse, gaslighting, and the psychology of power, all connected to the patterns that Stoicism helps you break free from. Links are below. 2,000 years old, still right. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.